to this latest video on the Bookkeepers channel. My name is Mike Foster. I'm the host of the Bookkeepers channel. I'm the Entrepreneur's Mentor and also the co-founder of the Bookkeepers Alliance. Today's video is going to be looking at the one-page business plan and those important high payoff activities, as I call them, those activities that you should be focusing on to help you stride towards achieving your goals and objectives. So what is the concept of the one-page plan? Well, the one-page business plan is exactly that. It is your business plan in a snapshot on one page of A4. Now the idea is that you start at the top with your mission or your vision. What is it that you want to achieve in your business? What is the reason that you get up in the morning? Why do you want to go to work? What is it that you want to achieve? What is your long-term and short-term vision, goal and objective for your business? The next stage is then to think about the targets in your business. What are the targets that you need to achieve to actually help you deliver on your mission, vision, goal and objective? So is it that you need more clients, for example? Do you need to build a good team around you? Do you need to think about your customer service or your operational excellence in terms of the delivery for your clients? Now, when I speak to my clients about this, I think about the magic number of 5. Why only 5? Well, actually, if it's more than 5, is it a bit too difficult to keep an eye on all those KPIs? And 5 keeps you very focused in terms of those core objectives that you need to consider in terms of helping you achieve that mission, vision, goal and objective. But the key aspect to this is then to consider what are your activities. So what are your activities that you have to deliver on day by day? And these are what I call the high payoff activities. The way to consider your one-page plan or your one-page business plan is to start with your mission and vision, then think about your targets, and then start to think about your high payoff activities. But then in terms of delivery, the focus is in the other direction. Because if you simply deliver on your high payoff activities, what should happen is you should, if you've considered the correct high payoff activities for your business, deliver your targets, and then if you deliver your targets, you should therefore then deliver your vision, mission, goals and objectives. So I suppose the key aspect to this is making sure that you have the right high payoff activities in the first place. And this is quite often established around your key performance indicators, those drivers for success that you need to focus on for your business. So from our one-page plan, we've considered what our mission, vision, goal and objectives are. We've thought about our targets and we've thought about the high payoff activities we need to deliver upon. But at the end of the day, we need to deliver those activities for us to achieve that. And we focused on your key 5 numbers that you have in your business, your KPIs, or what I perceive to be those success drivers in your business. So how do we deliver on those high payoff activities? Well, we thought about the planning and the measuring, hence the one-page plan. We need to make sure that plan stays fluid, so that it's a document that we review on a regular basis to identify what we're doing well, what we could improve upon, what needs to be tweaked, not what needs to be changed. But the key aspect is thinking about how can we create time in our diaries to ensure that we're focusing upon and spending time on those high payoff activities to ensure of their delivery. Now I'm sure you've all seen the standard quadrant of the time management matrix, where in terms of this is considered to be a scale of importance, and then this is considered to be a scale of urgency. And ideally, in terms of the importance and urgency, we want to work in the quadrant, which is that quadrant that is important for us to be doing, but is not perceived to be urgent. So that's the things like our marketing plan, our planning of our business, our working on the business rather than working in the business. What people tend to do is they start the day and then they get attracted into the quadrant of importance and what's perceived to be urgent. That's things like your email inbox, the telephone ringing, a member of staff approaching you first thing in the morning or something they've thought about whilst they're sleeping overnight. and we tend to firefight in this zone. There's lots of activity. And then to recover, we go into the quadrant, which is then the area of not urgent and not really important. So that might be a cup of coffee, a cup of tea, just a break of surfing the internet, looking at your Facebook account, etc. And then with all the best intentions, everybody goes back to the middle and let's say, okay, let's start again. And what happens? The phone rings or the email goes. So you have to be very specific about working in this zone, scheduling time in your diary, thinking about your task list on a day-by-day basis, and really focusing upon your high payoff activities. Now, I truly believe that once you know what your true high payoff activities are, you know what an interruption is, and you know what's distracting you from achieving those high payoff activities. And a real simple example I can use for an interruption is what I call an interruptions log. This is simply one line down the middle, who and why. Who's interrupting you and why are they interrupting you? And if you know when you're being interrupted and distracted and you record this, you can start to get a pattern. Is there a specific person that's interrupting you on a regular basis? Maybe a member of staff, it may be a customer, maybe a supplier. If you know why you're being interrupted on a regular basis, you can do things about it. You can manage the individuals, or you can put systems in place that stop the why from reoccurring. And therefore that gives you back some time when you'll start to plan your diary and you stop being interrupted, you stop firefighting. But really what comes into the category of high payoff activities, because I see a lot of people think about their activities they need to focus upon, and they would say things like, well, I need to win 5 new clients this month, and that's their high payoff activity. But actually that's not specifically detailed enough, and you need to get deeper in terms of what your high payoff activities truly are in terms of activity to deliver that objective or that target, if you like. Because certain things in your business are key results, so that might be things like your turnover, it might be profit, it might be your margins, it might be the number of customers you have. But at the end of the day, they're too late for you to measure from an aspect because they're only a result of other activity that you have in your business. So for example, the number of customers you have is only as a result of the activity you have in terms of recruitment and retaining those customers. So for example, if we look at the sales model, predominantly the activity around increasing your sales is having an increased number of customers, increasing how often they buy, and increasing how much they spend with you. Now there's various different models you can apply to that, but that's the core model really in terms of thinking about your sales. So you think about some key success drivers under that model to think about, okay, what are my high payoff activities that I want to focus on? So that may be, for example, let's say that I want 12 new customers. So I want 12 new customers, let's say, in the next year. Okay, so that's 1 per month. And now, actually, if we think about it on a 1 per month basis, that doesn't actually put too much time pressure upon us. But actually, when we start to think the reality of the activity we need to do to achieve that 1 customer per month, then it brings some reality in it. We don't leave it to the last minute to think, oh, actually, it's the 25th of the month, I need to start thinking about that 1 customer. Because if we work this back, it may be to get 12 customers, I need to have 24 written proposals. Because my conversion rate is 50%. So I convert 50% of my written proposals to new customers. So therefore I need to make 24 written proposals to get them 12 customers. But what is the true activity that I therefore then need to have or undertake to deliver those 24 written proposals? And again, it may be in the region, let's say for example, just pluck a number out of the air, but it may be a number of 50 conversations. So for me to achieve my 12 new clients a year, I may need to write 24 written proposals, but to be asked to write a proposal 24 times, I may need to have 50 valuable conversations. And then you can take that even further. How do I create a valuable conversation? Do I need to go to X number of networking events? Do I need to make so many direct mail calls? Think about the different areas where I might drive. So other sales drivers you may think about are things like your conversion rate, things that you can measure, things that you can continually improve. It may be thinking about whether you've got a pipeline value, for example. in terms of, okay, if I've got 3 clients in the pipeline, always 1 new customer is going to drop per month, if you like. There's other success drivers to think about other than just your sales. There may be cost and cash drivers to think about. And that may be around things like your debtor days, for example, to drive cash into your business. It may be things like your team productivity, it may be your average invoice value, things like that. Now, other success drivers that you may also be considering may be around the activity that you do within your business, and that may be things around your customer or your team happiness. It may be about the proactivity in your business, and it may be thinking about your customer base in terms of the number of customers you've won or lost. So the idea of the one-page plan is to really get you really thinking about those high payoff activities. Now, one of the other aspects in terms of making it happen is effective goal planning, and I've spoken quite a bit about effective goal planning in the past. There is another video about this on the Bookkeepers channel. But just to repeat, the 4 key areas that I consider around effective goal planning. And they are benefits, losses, obstacles and solutions. Now, I've researched goal planning since 2007 and I've come up with a structure that I believe works, it's proven to work from my perspective, it's proven to work from my client's perspective. Because what people traditionally do from their effective goal planning is that they start with the goal, and then they jump straight to the activities. So, well, what's my goal I want to achieve? And therefore, what are the activities I therefore need to do to achieve those? And that's a little bit like we've just been talking about with the one-page plan. But in the middle here is I'd encourage you to think about 4 things. First of all, the benefits, the motivation in terms of what you will achieve by achieving that goal. What will you feel like? What will you achieve for your business in terms of achieving that goal and objective? And then on the other side of the motivation is to think about the pain of not achieving that goal, the losses that you'd receive if you didn't achieve that goal. Then it's the obstacles and solutions. Now, we all know that somewhere along the route from undertaking our activities before we get to our goal, we're going to come up alongside an obstacle. And if we don't consider that obstacle, that tends to be where we get tripped up and we tend to give up on achieving that goal. But actually, if we in advance we think about the obstacles, and then the 4th area, think about the solutions for those obstacles, it therefore then makes it easy to think about when I'm planning my activities, I build in the solutions to that activity base. And therefore my activities simply become a checklist. And if I go down the checklist, tick, 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 I achieve what I want to achieve, but also, more importantly, the obstacles never occur because I've already built in the solutions for that obstacle. And therefore I get closer in terms of my success rate of achieving my goal. So I hope you found this video worthwhile. Hopefully it's given you an insight to the one-page business plan, it's given you some thoughts about the high-payoff activities you can focus upon for your business, and just lastly gave you a little bit of a flavour in terms of effective goal planning and those 4 key steps that really change the way that we think about the way we plan goals and the achievement of our goals. So, like I say, I hope you enjoyed the video, I hope it's added some value to you and your business. Please subscribe to the Bookkeepers channel if you've not already done so, so we advise you as and when we release new videos. If you've got any questions, then obviously please do not hesitate to contact me.